What we do is that we work with the given space. The given space, in this case the gallery, is in a way our first instrument for which we compose. Our part is the cloister square, where in the first floor is the Minueten Gallery. So we met first in October for 3 or 4 days, everyone here, because I found it necessary that we all know the place for which we would work now in February. Because I didn't want that everyone just comes with a finished, fixed, ready idea and then just looks for the space where he can do it. Composition, music is not meant to exclude music in its more traditional sense, but it's an offer to rethink the forms of presentations and how these forms influence what we are doing.
The creative process interests me. Through which mechanisms we use the creative process when transferring our ideas from one medium to the other. The ground concept is to try to change the aura of a space through an action, which in this case will be acted out, and traces from these actions will be presented to the public.
Can you come help me for a moment?
Yeah. Now we have created a problem.
Well, I think the fascination is the fact that the change that we hear takes place all in our head. I mean, and then the idea is that the visitor comes in and has a static chord, and then as he or she moves the pendulums, it creates different microtonal variations and different sounds.
Well, the space is a former monastery, and so I was thinking about projects that had to do with religion, and I was brought up a very specific kind of Catholicism, one that my parents brought back from the Philippines. I was born in California, and so I was brought up very strongly in Catholicism.
Using sounds of chanting that's done by the Filipino community during Holy Week. The emphasis on suffering is taken to a morbid degree.
I suppose I'm interested in these different types of temporality, these kind of different temporal frames, and one that I kind of thought of when I was here was this long exposure photograph. I think there's some French ones which are quite early photographs where they had to do a very long exposure, so you have these sort of shots of Paris where it's totally empty of people, it's just a pure picture of that kind of architectural space, and that's kind of what so this installation is hopefully doing with sound in this space.
Well, it's the idea of having an action that is very common in one time of the year and then is very uncommon in another. And the sound, the mixing of the sound, two different seasons. So actually now we have the snow. And the leaves falling on the snow make a very different sound. And also if there is snow falling on the leaves, it makes a very beautiful sound, almost like rain falling, but it's lighter. It's almost like paper. And that's a beautiful sound that I heard walking.
I wanted to build a room where you can go inside and have this kind of a contemplation. I want to give a special room for this kind of state of mind, or where you can calm down and be confronted with yourself. How people deal with this, like being alone and being isolated. Because I think also now maybe people are not so used to this anymore, to be really alone and by themselves.
Also the toilets in the history had to do with control a lot. I give the people some devices to change the production of sound, of peeing sounds. It's interesting to think about the ways how we produce this sound and how the environment is built for this activity. Are you ashamed of what sounds you produce during peeing in a cabin?
My installation is about echoes, to make it simple, and it's the situation now is that people are walking through the room and then suddenly they hear their own steps reverberating in the room. I will interpret the sounds in dance, and that's the second echo.
I guess the title of the workshop really, for me, describes it best. The composition beyond music and taking the sounds that already exist in different environments, bringing it into an environment that is kind of prepared, and really composing with the different performances. So there's a live performance aspect, a part that is stationary as they move inside the gallery. For me as a composer, I don't usually do installations, and it's really a different kind of work where you have to spend a lot of time from the very beginning to the very end, preparing what it is that people are going to experience.
In the process of working in the space, like it shifted all the time, and I had at the beginning really many ideas for putting things in the space, shifting the perception of people going through that space, and in the end it got less and less.
That old saying, no sound is innocent, I think is true, and you can't have any kind of noise or sound outside of its cultural context. So for me, in this process, particularly, composing is actually the arrangement of different signs, whether they're sonic or tactile or visual. So for me, this workshop emphasizes the critical attitude of the artist and the composer. So I'm not simply writing for a given commission.
A compositional process is nothing but how I try to organize my thought processes in a given media, be it a score, be it a site-specific installation. The question that has become more and more important to me is theme-related questions. So nowadays, basically, I think of a theme which I want to discuss, and then I question myself about which way would be the best one to tackle this theme.